Hello and welcome to Videomaker's program on computer video. I'm your host, Matt York, publisher of Videomaker magazine. As you watch, remember video editing starts with removing the bad shots. You know, like the ones you see in your old home movies. First up is linear or nonlinear editing, an introduction. Then we'll move on to features and functions. Next, it's preparing to edit. After that, we'll take a look at computer editing techniques. We'll move on to cover timeline editing techniques. And finally, we'll take a look at output. But enough with the preliminaries. Let's get learning.
The difference between linear and non-linear editing are with linear editing, you have the pieces. I think of them as pieces and cars on a train that you have to fill in on the track. And those pieces are the shots that or the clips that you are putting down, and you put one after the other. With non-linear, you are taking those pieces or those clips and you're not held by those constraints. You can put them in, you can go back and change things at the beginning, you can put them in any order that you would like. The basic linear editing system has a play deck, a record deck, and an edit controller between them and a couple monitors. The non-linear system can be a wide range of styles and types. Anything from a very complicated turnkey type of system with multiple monitors to something very basic and simple as an appliance piece, or something that would be as basic and simple as the editing system that you see behind me. The advantages of using a linear system are that if you're using very long clips, it works very quickly. You can drop them in, you can move quickly through. One of the major disadvantages are that if you make a mistake back at the beginning, you have to go back and start all over again. The types of projects that you should not use a non-linear editing system on are the ones that have much longer shots, the wedding videos where you've got 20 minutes per shot. The kinds of productions that do work very well with the non-linear system are the commercials, the ones where you're doing very quick, short shots and lots of transitions. And something that we all are interested in are the music videos. They work very well with the nonlinear system. Some of the advantages of editing with a nonlinear system are those rapid cuts. You can make them very, very quick and very, very fast. And you're using, once again, if you're using a shorter system, anything less than 10 minutes, and you're doing a lot of transitions and a lot of effects. Then the disadvantages would be that if you're doing a longer kind of editing, you certainly would not want to digitize and throw 20 minutes worth of a shot into your computer. The type of productions that are suited to linear editing are the wedding videos that you have long shots. Anything that you have a long shot that's going to go for a multiple of minutes. The things that are not good for linear are something that are going to be really effect intensive or even edit intensive, like commercials, that you're going to have multiple cuts within that 30 seconds. That probably won't work nearly as well with the linear system. If you're creating an editing system for the very first time and you're trying to decide whether or not to go linear or non-linear, the decision is based completely upon what your needs are and what it is that you're going to be videotaping and the kind of programming that you're going to be creating. But you do need to kind of be aware of the fact that now the nonlinear system is totally in a different price range than it once was and has become much more affordable. You don't necessarily need to buy a new computer in order to create a nonlinear editing system. But you do need to realize that if you don't, you're going to run into some problems retrofitting your old system, and that there are going to be some incompatibilities that develop. And if you feel uncomfortable getting into your computer, then you probably need to consider getting a new system, a new computer, and some of your options might be a turnkey kind of system or having a new system built for you.
A lot of people confuse computer-based editing with non-linear editing, and the truth is they're not one and the same. A computer can be used as an edit controller in a linear editing configuration. In this case, what the computer does is it allows you to take control of your VCR, so you can mark in points and out points and use it to drive your decks, but you never digitize video. A non-linear editing computer works with video that's been captured on a hard drive. It allows you to manipulate those video clips in random order. If you're looking to get started in non-linear editing and you're going to buy a system, there are a couple different types to consider. Firstly, you might select one that is pre-configured, ready to edit out of the box. You simply buy it, open it, plug it in, and edit. These come in two varieties, either the standalone black box appliance or a computer system that's turnkey. It already has a capture card and software installed. You might also consider building your own system, which is a little more involved. You can retrofit a computer that you already have, or you can go out and buy a system fresh. If you're thinking about trying to retrofit your current computer for nonlinear editing, let me warn you, it's not easy. You're going to find that that capture card is going to conflict, or it's likely to conflict with some existing hardware on your computer, or with the chipset that's on one of your cards. We don't recommend attempting to retrofit your computer. It's very difficult. Unless you're an experienced user, look into one of the other avenues. There are two basic styles of interface that you'll run into in the nonlinear editing world. One is the timeline, the other is the storyboard. Storyboard interfaces allow you to arrange picture icons, little picture representations of each video clip. These icons are all the same size regardless of length. So a 5-minute clip is the same size in that representation as a 30-second clip. With the storyboard, you arrange them in the order that you like, you drop transitions in between, and you're ready to edit. In a timeline interface, your work area is represented by a timeline, and your video clips are small bars that you place on the timeline. The length of the bar is proportionate to the length of that clip of video. So a 1-minute clip is twice the length of a 30-second clip, for example. You edit by placing these back to back for cuts only, or by placing them on separate tracks with a little bit of overlap to add transition effects. You can trim the size of a clip on the timeline. Another variation in computer editing is the hybrid system. The hybrid offers you the best of the linear and non-linear worlds. What it does is it allows you to either capture video to your hard drive and edit in a straight non-linear fashion, or to take control of VCRs and edit in a linear fashion. Now this is great if you're working on long projects that would require a lot of hard drive space. You make your linear edits using that portion of the system and then render special effects and transitions in a nonlinear fashion. There are certain features and functions that all nonlinear systems have in common. They all allow you to randomly access video clips from a hard drive and arrange them in whatever order you like and play them back instantly to see the edits. Some of them allow you to do more than that. Some allow you 2 or 3 channels for your audio editing. Some allow you up to 99 or beyond, up to infinity. Some allow you to layer and composite video images, some don't. Many of them include titlers. You want to look for the interface, for the software, for the features that suit your needs. There's really a lot to be said for going with a turnkey system or a standalone black box video editing appliance. They come out of the box pre-configured. You don't have to open them up. You plug in your video sources and your audio sources and you edit. It's quick, it's easy, and it's something that every one of you can take advantage of.
Let's assume you have a working nonlinear editing system sitting on a desk in front of you. You've installed all the necessary hardware and software, and everything works the way it's supposed to. Before you begin editing, there are still a few things left to do. Before you begin capturing anything, you'll need to make sure that all of your computer's hardware and software settings are optimized for video editing. Turn off any screensavers and eliminate the desktop graphic first of all. Then, turn off any virus protection, clock display, and any other terminate and stay resident software, and make sure there are no applications running. There are a few things you can do to your video capture hard drive in order to better prepare it for the rigors of nonlinear editing. If you are formatting a new hard drive to hold your video clips, use the large allocation block or cluster size option. If you're partitioning the drive, partition it so that the video portion falls on the circumference of the drive. Turn off the read ahead and write behind options in your hard drive defaults. Together, these measures should give you a significant increase in performance. It's also a good idea to defragment the capture drive before each new video project. If you have had capture boards in your computer other than the one you are currently using, make sure that the drivers and other software for the previous board have been completely removed. Simply using an uninstalled program won't always get rid of every little bit and piece of software, so it's a good idea to consult the manufacturer's website to see if there is a document describing how to remove the previous board's drivers from the system. Video capture cards and video editing software must also be configured before you capture your first clip. One of the most important settings to pay attention to is the capture resolution. For example, the resolution of DV video is preset to 720 by 480 pixels, so both your DV capture card and your nonlinear editing software should be preset to this resolution. Audio settings, frame rates, and color bit depth must also be set before you begin. When choosing your capture settings, bear in mind the type of project you're working on. 640 by 480 is considered a standard minimum resolution for high-quality output to videotape. But if you're digitizing for streaming video or CD-ROM applications, 320 by 240 or less is sufficient. Also, to conserve hard drive space and minimize rendering times during the editing process, some video editors like to first capture all of their clips at a low resolution, complete the edit, and then redo the whole project at a higher resolution once all editing decisions have been made. In general, the rule for choosing resolutions, color depth, and compression ratios is to select slightly higher settings than you will need for the format of your final output. Locating all the shots you'll need to capture is difficult without some kind of logging system. This can be as simple as a paper and pencil list of which shots are on which tapes and where. With the right combination of hardware and software, it's possible to automate the logging process. Some nonlinear programs offer a way to create a log of your source tapes within the editing software itself. By reading the timecode numbers directly into the software and sometimes even providing a small picture icon or PICon to identify the first frame of each clip. These systems greatly simplify the logging process. To further simplify things, some systems offer a time-saving technology that's known as batch digitizing. A batch digitizer will use the shot lists you've previously created with logging software to automatically shuttle your VCR or camcorder to each desired clip and capture it automatically. This is a simple and efficient way to get only the clips you want onto the hard drive for editing. Finally, make sure that your computer's video display card is set for 24-bit full-color images. Otherwise, the video you see on your computer display won't have the richness and depth of color of your original video. Okay, enough with the preliminaries. It's time to edit.
Some nonlinear editors say they use a timeline interface. What is that? What else is there? And which is best?
A timeline interface is a way of organizing your project. Usually you start from left to right and working just along a timeline. There's marks marking each spot of the timeline, and your clips are represented, the length of them, by the length of the clip in the timeline. But it's not the only way to organize your project. Some systems use a storyboard interface. The length isn't represented, but it looks just like a storyboard. Sometimes that's easier to follow. Whichever is best, though, is whatever works for you in your project.
My titles are boring and flat. How can I get them to look more like the stuff I see on TV?
There's a lot of different things you can do to add energy to your titles. One of the simplest things you can do is to add a drop shadow or perhaps a colored border. If you want to get more advanced, you could use motion control. Maybe move it in with just the motion editor on your titler. Or you could use it as a transition, wipe it in or fly it in. Or if you want to really get tricky, you could take textures that are already in your video and color your graphic using those.
My computer's not set up to do nonlinear editing. Can I still use it to enhance my productions?
You can use your computer in a lot of different ways to enhance your productions. You can use word processing software to help write your script. Using spreadsheet software, you can do your budgeting. There's software available to make shot logs, and from those logs, create EDLs or edit decision lists. You can use your computer as an edit controller in a linear-based system, or you can use it for simple research on the internet. Whatever you use your computer for, you can integrate it in your production, and how much or how little you use your computer all depends on you and your system.
My system has over 500 transition effects. How do I know when to use what effect?
The most important thing to realize is that you don't need to use all those effects. The most simplest, the most common effect to use is a dissolve or a cut. Use those a lot. If you want to use more, look at your video. It will tell you what to use. If you're shooting 4 subjects, use a quad split and separate those subjects. If you want to fly in titles, you can get really wild with some of the effects. The most important thing to do is to look at your video. If it looks good, use the transition. If it doesn't, don't.
I've seen videos that process the video with effects like posterization and strobe. How is that done?
Depending upon your system and how you're set up, you can use either a variety of hardware or software combinations to get the specific effect you want. For example, Adobe Premiere has a variety of different filters that you can use to process the video on a pixel-by-pixel basis. You can use a TVC or a time-based corrector sometimes to get the strobe or the process effects that you're looking for. What you're essentially doing is using science to alter the video.
I've heard that good audio is crucial to making good video. What can a computer do to help me with audio editing?
Just like with video editing, a computer can really enhance your ability to edit audio. It can do a variety of different things, from layering to processing to equalization. Depending upon the package you have, you can tweak the gain, you can add effects, you can make someone sound like they're standing in a stadium when they're really just in your backyard. How you use that audio depends upon your video and the package you have. If you use your creativity and your imagination, the possibilities are endless.
Now that you have named and captured all your clips, the fun begins. We'll show you how to start a new project, assemble a few clips, and add transitions, titles, special effects, and sound. We're demonstrating these techniques using Adobe Premiere 5.1 software. Most other nonlinear editing software will have the same functions, though the names for them and the ways to access them may vary. First, open a new project, making sure that all the settings are correct for your project. Next, import all the video, stills, and audio clips that you will need into your project bin. In Premiere, we do this by clicking File, Import, then we highlight all the files we want and click OK. Select the first clip of your video from the clip bin and drag it to the desired video track. To do a simple cut, just place one clip after another on the same track. To use a transition, such as a wipe or dissolve, you must let the end of the clip on track 1A overlap the clip on track 1B. If you want the transition to be 1 second, use the numbers at the top of the timeline to position the clips for the desired length. Don't forget to save your project regularly. Now, click on Windows, Transitions, and choose the effect you want. Drag it down to the transition track between video 1A and 1B. To select the length of the transition, click on the transition track. Click in Clip, click on Duration, and select the length of the transition. Now open the title program. Click on File, New Title. Choose a solid background and color, or select a transparent background which will allow your graphic to be displayed over a video clip. Next, select the font style you like. Choose its size and then type and design your graphic. Then hit F12 to send it to the project bin. Now select a clip from the bin and drag it onto the overlay track over the video clip. If you want the title to fade in and out, click the triangle to the left of the track to expand it. Then select the point where you want the title to fade in and click on the red line creating a handle. Drag the start point to 0 to create a ramp. This will cause your title to fade in. Repeat this process in reverse at the end of the duration to fade a graphic out. Adding movement to your titles and video overlays is also an easy task with a nonlinear editor. First, select your clip in the timeline window, Choose Clip, Video Motion, and the dialog box appears. Then just select the beginning and ending points, and you've created a motion path your image will follow across the screen once the clip has been rendered. Applying special effects or filters is also easy. Just select a clip in a timeline, choose Clip, Filters, pick the filter you want from the list and double-click. Each video filter has one or more controls to change different properties of the effect. After you define the settings, simply click OK to apply them to the appropriate keyframes and then render the clip. Finally, you might want to add some narration, music, or even sound effects to your video. You can record narration using a microphone and music or sound effects from any audio playback source or your computer's built-in CD player. Select File, Capture, Audio Capture, and Sound Input. Now, go back to your project. Click on File, Import, and select the audio clip to be transferred into the project bin. You can now drag it onto one of the 99 available audio tracks. At this point, you can layer the audio clips, and by expanding the audio tracks and creating handles, you can bring the volume of each track up or down to fade between music, narration, and sound effects, and any audio recorded with the video clips. Once you've gotten all your video clips, audio, titles, and graphics assembled on your timeline, you're ready to render your project. On this system, we click Export, then Movie. The computer will now build an entirely new audio-video file that contains all the elements indicated in our timeline. The time a system takes to render depends on the power of the system and the complexity of the project. When it's done rendering, you can view the finished product from the hard drive and prepare to export it to a videotape or another medium.
The first step towards delivering your video to an audience is transforming your editing decisions on your timeline into a finished video production. For non-linear editors, this step is called rendering. Rendering is the process of reforming your original digital video clips into a finished product that includes all of the cuts, fades, transitions, effects, titles, audio overlays, and other decisions you made in the editing phase. Usually, all you have to do to render your project is select the Render or Export Movie option from a pull-down menu and relax while the computer does the work. If you're using a computer-based linear system, you have just one option for delivery: videotape. Make sure to cue the source tape to a point at least a minute after the beginning of the tape to give the system plenty of room to search for clips. Place the record deck in record pause mode and begin the automated editing program. In most cases, desktop video editors expect their audience to view a finished production on VHS tape in a living room setting complete with couch, VCR, and television. Though VHS tape is still the most common means of delivery for most video editors, it's a good idea to make your edit master on the best format you can to ensure that your VHS copies will look as good as possible. Non-linear editors have a few other options for distribution. In addition to videotape, a non-linear project can be encoded as streaming video to post on a website, MPEG-1 video for CD-ROM, or MPEG-2 video to record to DVD. To record your rendered non-linear video program to videotape, first make sure you have your record deck cabled properly with the audio and video outputs from the video capture card and the sound card connected to the inputs on the video record deck. DV or Digital 8 users will benefit greatly from IEEE 1394 FireWire connections, as this will practically eliminate the effects of noise and provide a crystal clear edit master for making VHS copies. Next, put the record deck into record pause mode. Prepare your rendered video file for output, release pause on the record deck, and sit back while your final rendered project records to videotape. If you're producing content for internet streaming, you won't have to worry about videotape output at all. You will, however, have to encode your digital video using the proper type of compression for the streaming video software you plan to work with. Most streaming video encoders include several options for output, usually related to the internet connection speed the intended audience will be using, such as 28.8 kilobits per second or 56.6 kilobits per second. If you plan to offer your streaming video to casual web surfers, then you should probably stick with the 28.8 option. You can also create 2 or more files encoded to run at different speeds in order to accommodate a wider range of potential viewers. Some nonlinear editors allow you to render the project directly into a streaming video format. If yours doesn't, you'll have to render the video as a standard video for Windows or QuickTime file, then use the appropriate streaming encoder software, such as Real Network's Real Producer, to create a streaming video file. A third option for video delivery is CD-ROM, and the format that's most often used for CD-ROM multimedia applications is MPEG-1. The MPEG-1 format compresses your digital video by as much as 100 or 200 to 1, resulting in a much smaller file size with loss of much detail. This means that it isn't ideal for distribution on videotape. It is, however, a real space saver for those cramped web directories or CD-ROM productions. Use MPEG-1 compression software such as Zing's MPEG encoder to convert your video files to MPEG-1. Typical settings include compression ratio, color bit depth, keyframe frequency, and audio quality. For those who want to live on the cutting edge of video distribution, there are a number of options available for creating DVDs. DVDs or digital versatile discs are among the newest forms of digital video delivery available to consumers.
Well, we sure have covered a lot of ground today. We've gone over all of the basic elements of editing video with a home computer. We've covered the differences between linear and nonlinear video and given some suggestions as to which is right for you. We've talked about capturing, logging, rendering, editing, and titling. If you feel overwhelmed, don't despair. Play this tape at your editing station and try one tip at a time as you see it described. Well, that about wraps it up. I'm your host, Matt York. Until next time, keep making video.